Hey, good morning and welcome to 23 Degrees Sideways, Coyote in the Highlands. I'm still a little dark and backlit and stuff, and it's just the necessity of how the shade is working right now at this time of year. We are approaching that whole first day of summer, longest day of the year, the solstice, and things are a little weird with sunrise right now in the space that I've been working on, building, you know. Also, I just haven't had time to replace the blue tarp with canvas. I probably won't have time until the blue tarp fails, because that's often how things go. I want to talk a little bit about overthinking. It's one of the things I notice, especially on Twitter. Twitter and Facebook and Discord and all of the other things that I'm on, they tend to have a way of promoting excessive thought and wordiness around concepts. Like, we talk about enlightenment and how to be enlightened. It's all very simple. It really is simple. It's not necessarily easy, although it seems easy once you're on the other side. But it's pretty simple. But we very vastly complicate it. I look at Twitter threads, for example, or Facebook communities especially. I look at all these various threads and I see things where people have a glimpse, have a moment, have a rumpalago, a enlightenment moment, whatever, and then they talk about it, they systemize it, they utilitarianize it, and they make it all wordy, and it kind of goes away and becomes a debate about linguistic systems and methods and little progressions and little analysis points, and you end up analyzing away the experience. This is a big problem with the mind, is that you tend to analyze away the experience. Instead of getting into your moment, we step back from the moment and analyze it. What does this do? It's like taking a picture of the scenery instead of experiencing the scenery. You're analyzing it, you're stepping away, and that's really not the point. And I see this a lot. I'm going to keep saying Twitter, and I mean Twitter, Discord, Facebook, all of the other things that I'm on. Instagram doesn't seem to do it quite as much to me, but I don't use Instagram as heavily. TikTok is one of the worst, actually. The way TikTok is structured seems to actually be worse for this. You don't even have time to breathe. You can't just say, hey, take a moment. And we're going to take a moment right now. Take a moment. Let it all go, and then we can talk again. You can't even do that on TikTok because it's so compressed and crazy. And that's kind of I think that's a design feature of TikTok in an effort to control how people's brains work and keep awareness away. I don't think TikTok is benevolent or even neutral. I think it is actively malignant by design. But I'm not convinced that several other social media platforms aren't deliberately malignant by design. It's interesting to me that the most effectively positive and beneficial one that I ever experienced was killed by the company that has the most influence over our online lives, and that's kind of scary. It probably leads more credence to the dead internet theory than anything else. The death of Google Plus probably did that more than anything else, to convince me that something is fuckery. Something is fucked up in here. There is fuckery afoot. Now that I have cussed adequately for the video, Twitter, I'm just going to say Twitter, there's all these threads about how you have this realization, then you go and you analyze it. What we need is this teacher and this system and this thing, and then, whoa, back up. Just let people experience life, man. Have some experience. Enjoy some experience. And I know I'm out here trying to get you to watch my videos and do the stuff and engage in practices, and I'm trying to communicate these things in different ways, different rants, so that I can get the right words to the right person at the right time in the right way to pop us all over. Because I really do think that our future it lies in the next great awakening, and more people getting at least glimpses and temporary experiences, but regular temporary experiences of fundamental okayness, of enlightenment, and more people actually just popping over permanently to the other side. I think that that's a really big deal. Now, when you pop over to the other side, it doesn't mean you don't engage in daily life and you're not an effective engineer or scientist or hotel worker or whatever it is you do. Some of us, we're not anymore. There's different phases and different life games and different paths and different adjustment processes. But for most people, it's just going to mean bigger, better, faster life, which is awesome. Not going way off the deep end and out into the mountains and trying to figure this whole thing out. Or not figure the whole thing out, trying to experience the whole thing out and run with it, Not everyone goes crazy, Eckhart did, obviously, for a couple of years, and that's different paths, different people. But at the same time, he's probably one of the more effective teachers that we have. So maybe that's one of the reasons it happened that way for him. Reasons, justification, analysis. See, we keep coming back to that, and it's not necessary. It's really not necessary. It's one of the things about Lester Levinson that you get into. It's a very first part of one of the books. Is, people keep talking about the ecological disasters and the needs to be green, and he's like, what you're here for is accepting people as they are, as who they are, as what they do, and just accepting and loving it. Not trying to prescribe, not trying to judge. And people keep coming back to these big, huge things, these outcome-driven things that they've been programmed for. And that reduces the acceptance. The biggest trigger that I talk about often is the ability to kill someone in war and love them at the same time. And I don't talk about that a whole lot because for most of my viewership, it's probably an unreal concept. Most people haven't gone to war, for example. It's not a real concept, but it's a big deal. So, trying to talk about overthinking, and I'm just getting distracted and going off and mentioning all sorts of stuff, and that's fine. That's how it goes. Flow of consciousness. If you find yourself trying to create a system instead of an experience, I might suggest backing away and getting back to experience. At least sometimes, at least enough to remember that the experience is what it's about, I guess, is that the experience is key, that your awareness of awareness, your big universal awareness is actually what you're engaged with, not a systemization or an explanation or, a system. People create systems. And it's one of those things that you get into in personal coaching. You can actually do drills, do communication and experience drills, and then people turn things into systems. And it's a very interesting bit of training to learn how people turn things into systems and to stop that and to get back to the experience. And, it can be a long drawn out process. It's kind of like browbeating someone into enlightenment, like beating them over the head until they're enlightened. And it's an interesting process, not something for everyone. But systems, we tend to create systems around things, and it divorces us from the experience. And I don't think the goal of the mind is to divorce us from experience. It's just that the mind doesn't have that capability. The mind has to do the thinky thing, and it wants to be involved. And there's certain times and places where it's not involved, Keep me breathing, keep the blood flowing. And we'll think about the process of doing flagstone or the next roof construction or something later on. Have the direct experience. Have the direct experience. I think that there are a lot of communications platforms and social groups where we really, instead of talking about the analyzing and the systems of the experience, we should be just sharing with each other whatever. Something else, and then go and quiet down and share experience together. And it sounds so hippy-dippy. We're going to share space and hold space for each other. But really, that's actually the point. That's actually a really good thing, and it's one of the best things we can do for each other is slow down, stop, shut up, and share experience with each other. Eye-gazing. I got to get on some of that eye gazing stuff. I think that's one of the ways to really do that. All right? Stay sideways.